Hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. Today we'll be doing some no-tactic runs with various different characters. I think we'll probably leave things at 75. The main issue, depending on the character, could be the time limit, because we will be killing things lower than in other runs, especially when it comes to the early game. So maybe what I'll do is... I don't know, the problem is time limit is so hard to reduce down, because it's worth an entire 4 points at this, when it's maxed out like this. It gives an additional 4 points, so it's hard to take it off and stay at 75. And I really want to be at 75 for the extra shop refreshes. So we'll probably just have to leave it there, and just kind of deal with the time limit. I think we'll start out with an icy run for now, and then if people want to request characters for runs later on, we can do that too. And maybe I'll take something like... I don't think Tempestolia is a bad idea, just to help clear out some of the normal enemy rooms a lot quicker, especially when it comes to the early game. The early game is really the time where a no-tactic run would be the most issue. If you can get enough potentials going to have a high enough damage value, then you're pretty much fine without tactics. But early on, it's a lot more of an issue. So one thing that I always take in no-tactic runs to help out with that early game pressure is a different mind crystal that I barely ever use otherwise. How do I get... okay, it's here. Violent Impact is actually a pretty nice mind crystal. When pushing an enemy to a wall, deals 900 shockwave damage. Normally, it's not taken as much because the shockwave damage kind of falls off by the late game, and if you have good starting legacy tactics, you don't really need the extra early game power from it. But it is a nice option in other cases. Also, it's really easy to trigger the Violent Impact with Rachel's second legacy skill, so that'll be a nice synergy that we have set up. You can definitely notice it with the early game enemies. Pretty much the moment I get them pushed into a wall, they just die instantly. This stage is really weird. There's like a certain trigger that you have to walk nearby in order for the second set of enemies to spawn. If you're like over too far on this side of the stage, they just don't spawn sometimes, and you have to walk backwards and then walk through up here. That's usually how I get them to spawn. Kinda weird that they have never fixed that yet. I think that kind of thing can happen in a couple other stages too, but I don't remember which stages off the top of my head. The other thing that I have to be very mindful about with this run already is that we have both of the debuffs for Intermittent Thunder and Afterlife Bomb, so I have to be very selective about when I go in to attack enemies. I think it's... I'll go for max MP early on. I have enough exchange points saved up already, though really you can never have too many... you can never have too many exchange points. You can pretty much always spend them as long as you have the 3 shop refreshes. But I think in terms of, like, early on for Icy, having the extra MP amount will help out. Once you get some of the, like, MP restoration passives for Icy, she doesn't have issues with her MP anymore, but early on, it's nice to have that extra max MP bonus. And then I could take the exchange here, but I'm going to wait and take the guaranteed potential instead. The stage before the boss fight, which on advanced difficulty is stage 9, will always be a shop, guaranteed. So I can always just save my exchange points if there's another option early enough on. If you're running like a setup that generates a lot more exchange points, such as taking the starting buffs that give extra EP for fast clearing and taking no damage, then it does become more useful to take more than 1 shops per area. Otherwise, you can just, for the most part, take that exchange shop at the end, or I mean that guaranteed shop at the end. Let me check the stream settings real quick. Looks like everything is good. Just wanted to make sure I didn't, like, accidentally forget to unmute my mic or something. That would not be a good thing if I'm like 15 minutes into a stream and my mic's been muted the entire time. It would not be the first time that's happened. Hello, Yisu. I'm glad to hear you like the channel and the content. Are you new to the game itself, or are you mostly just new to the channel? Okay, perfect. We get one of the MP passives that we need, and this activates other nice passive effects, or hidden effects for regeneration as well. I'm not sure exactly how much the percentage HP thing here does. I've never really looked at it, but percentage HP is almost never a bad thing. Especially when it comes to how high of HP these bosses get. I'm out of time. That's really sketchy now. I need to just try and push him into the wall here as much as possible. That should help out with the damage. That was very close. This should help quite a bit, especially for the passive on Electron Flow. I also need extra dashes, though, but I think we can hold off on the extra dashes. The tactic system is a bit strange to you. The tactic system can get very complicated. Well, I guess we just go for HP stacking. There's no really other option we can take here. There's a funny bug with that black market upgrade that can give you 5 tactics. It can give you red tactics. It can give you more than 5 red tactics, and it can double up on red tactics and that type of thing. It can also just give you red tactics that you can't even use, because you don't have the activation requirements for them. It does a lot of weird things. In order to have it do that stuff with the red tactics, you need to be very close to max tactics already. And then it's like... I guess the game just doesn't have enough, it wants to give you 5 tactics, no matter what, I guess. Even if that leads to giving you invalid tactic combinations. Either that, or they didn't put a proper checking system in place to make sure that it doesn't do that. It's kind of hard to explain, but it is something that can happen. Tried to maybe, like, get some type of exploited run set up using that info, but it's just very difficult to set up because you need a late black market, and then you need to actually get that effect in specific. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I really enjoy this game, but my main criticism has always been they need to explain things so much better in this game. Between just, like, they don't really explain any of the systems themselves very well, and then the descriptions of stuff like passives on tactics and legacy characters just are not good. Some of them I would even consider to be wrong, just because they're so misleading to the point of where I don't even know what the intent of the developers was. Oh, that was not good. There was one tactic recently that... There's been a couple times over, like, the past couple months that, even with me having hundreds of hours in the game, I found out that some of the tactics don't work the way I thought they did. And a big reason for that is that just... the only reason, or the only way you can actually, like, figure out how anything in this game works is to just go and do a whole lot of manual testing about it. I think if the game had a better training mode, then that would be much less of an issue. But right now it's very difficult to test individual things. You have to go and, like, set up very specific runs where you only take the thing you want to test in order to single it out. But yeah, aside from that, I think the game is very, very good. I've been a fan of the Blazblue series for a long time as well. And then I think the combat in this game really carries it. The characters all feel extremely good to play. There is supposed to be a major tactic rework in development right now. It's one of the things that they've teased for coming up on the roadmap. So hopefully that helps a little bit with the tactics descriptions, but I don't know about that. It will at least hopefully help out with tactic imbalance, because some tactics are just really not worth taking right now. And some tactics are just too good in every situation, so they're way more incentivized to be taken. I thought it was maybe the translation as well, but from what I could tell, the Chinese descriptions were basically the same as ours when I changed the language over to Chinese and then translated it. It's funny that you mention Rend as being bad because it's actually one of the best tactics in the game, but the reason why is so like obtuse that most players would never know. So Rend itself is just, it's kind of okay for regular enemies, it can be fine, but it's kind of worthless on bosses. The thing that makes Rend very good is this upgrade right here, Rending Impact. Enemies inflicted with Rend lose their super armor and take an additional 10% damage. And then Fatal Rend is also nice as well for the Execute, but most of the value ends up coming from Rending Impact. One of the things that makes this worth it is that most of the damage increases in the game will not scale up your tactic damage at all. This one is one of the examples of something that will scale up tactic damage. So if you're running a build that deals a lot of tactic damage, you can take this, and it will help that out. And then another thing is... So what I got stuck on for a long time is, like, Cold will go up to like a 50% damage increase, and same with, same with Radiance. Radiance goes up to a really high percentage number, whereas Rending Impact looks really weak based on just the percentage number alone. But the way that the game is doing the damage calculations for Rend and Cold are completely different. I don't really know for sure which one is stronger for sure overall. I think they end up being around equal, but there's some like case-by-case stuff there too. But anyways, even though Rending Impact says it's only a 10% increase and the others are like 50+ increase, they both end up around the same in actual value when it comes to the way that the game calculates the damage. And you would never know that. That's the problem with the whole like description system that they've gotten set up right now. There's a lot of things that you just can't tell based on description alone. And the only reason I know that is because I went and like looked at individual damage numbers and did damage calculations myself, which the player should not have to do that. Oh, this run might be over. I need to get him in... Okay, we're good now. If I didn't get him into stun state there, things would have gotten really sketchy. Hey, Chantel. I think I'm going to ignore the trial stage. Trials don't generally feel worth it to me in most of the cases. But yeah, I was the exact same way about Rend for a long time. I didn't think it was useful until I actually, like, looked at the damage calculation and stuff and how that type of thing works. There's been a couple tactics that have ended up being that way, where they look really bad on paper, or they're just very... it's just very hard to tell what they do, aside from testing it yourself. I've been able to make a build work for every tactic tree at this point, aside from poison. The poison tactic tree just is not good right now, no matter how much I try to mess around with it. I would say the fire tree is also one of the ones on the weaker end of things. But fire does have a couple of, like, very specific builds you can put together with it in order to make it useful. I probably shouldn't have rerolled that third time. Oh well. Now that I got the passive for my down air, we shouldn't really have any problems with damage anymore, like we were in the previous boss fights. This hidden effect is completely ridiculous on Icy. Once you unlock the up attack, it gives a hidden effect for the down attack where it hits more times, and the damage increase on it is insane. The sad part about that Rachel video is that if you put other tactics on her, she will deal even more damage instead. Rachel can just absolutely one-shot bosses with something like Frost on skills. And yes, Rachel is just extremely good on her own. I don't know what they were thinking with that character. Honestly, your English seems fine to me. think we're still missing a MP regen passive. Let me check. Yes, we're missing one here. And then... this would be nice, but I'll reroll a couple times. So the two things I would still need next are invincibility on Overload, and then invincibility on my up attack and down attack. And then if I can get those two, the run should be set. Well, that wind really did not do any damage. I was hoping I could kind of use it to AoE down the extra summons, but it didn't work. Another thing I think they really need to do adjustments with are the legacy skills. Oh, perfect. Here's what I was saying I needed. It gives invincibility for the up attack, and then at the same time you get the hidden effect where down attack gets invincibility as well. But yeah, I mentioned it before how a lot of the damage increases don't affect tactics, and it's the same way for legacy skills. So legacy skills just don't end up hitting any noticeable damage numbers in the high entropy stuff. This is a very, very good option here. But this one also... it scales with my black market upgrade, and it also just does not affect Icy at all. So we might as well. Icy doesn't regenerate MP in the first place, so having no MP regen on her does not matter at all. It doesn't remove her ability to get MP back on hitting things, so it's just a free option for her. And you can see that now that we've made it past like the halfway point of the run, the no tactic run starts becoming really easy. It's not any problem compared to having a tactic run. The main issue that you'll run into with no tactic runs are just the early game. Another mechanic that they never explain to you at all in the game is that every time you pick up a potential, you get a 20% damage bonus for your character. So over the course of like the run, your character ends up scaling a lot in damage, whereas your tactics and your legacy skills and stuff don't. So on a run like this, where I get a bunch of bonus money from selling all the tactics, my character, by the end of the run, is most likely dealing more damage than it would in a tactic run. But in a tactic run, you have the benefit of the tactics also dealing damage for you. So there's benefits to, like, each method of playing. I would definitely say overall, no tactic runs are a lot more of a challenge compared to a run where you have decent tactics. But it's not so bad of a challenge. At least, it's not as bad as you would think it would be. It does also depend on character as well. Some characters have a lot better base damage numbers for their damage scaling with that potential bonus, and some characters don't. So some characters are a lot more reliant on tactic damage than others. Oh man, seeing that gold rank frost skills is a little bit painful to pass up on. So something fun you can do... I have the discount mine crystal, and if tactics go on discount, I can buy them and then sell them back for more than I bought them for. So I bought it for 15 and sold it for 80. I can just do a free money thing. I think I'm actually close to getting max potentials. Oh, I shouldn't have taken this exchange. I thought this was the final stage, but I have one more stage left. That's not really a big deal, though. In this case, it doesn't matter, because I got to spend on all 3 shop rerolls. Also, one thing to keep in mind is that this run is way stronger than the average no tactic run would be, because I have the Covenant and Black Market that are scaling together. I have a 200% damage increase from it right now, and then I have a 400% damage increase from how many potentials I have. So our damage scaling is pretty much just through the roof right now. Dang, you lost your achievement? I don't think I've ever had that happen before. But I also can't say I really paid too much attention to the achievements. Honestly, this is probably a good enough run that I feel confident going into Reki. That might be the death of me, but if it is, it is. I do have a guide about setting up your runs to get the most money for making the most potentials. Have you seen that one yet? If not, I can link it to you. Wait, this isn't Reki. What am I doing? Hang on. You guys saw nothing. Oh, I can't. Dang it. You can reset rooms by going back to menu, but since I already went into this, since I already went in this far, I can't reset it anymore. Oh well. I had intended to go into Reki, but then I just kind of autopiloted, I guess. I wonder what causes this. I've noticed this happen a lot. In Phase 2, he will glitch out and just keep walking backwards constantly for quite a long time. He won't do anything else. Yeah, maybe it's something like after he goes into a stun state, he bugs out for some reason. I don't know. Well, it's unfortunate that I messed up with Reki, but That was a good run overall. Are there any requests for certain characters that people want to see? I can probably take this Mind Crystal off. I guess I'll probably go with Vengeful Wrath. But I don't... The problem is with Vengeful Wrath, you don't start with a revive. So you either have to take Not Dead Yet, or you have to find a revive somewhere. It's kind of the same for these two. They're both very good, but they're also both very dependent on each other. So I guess I'll just go with some extra free MP. Normally I'd run these two, but since I'm running Violent Impact, I have one less slot than normal. And then I also really want Acceleration for this run to make up for some of the damage lost from not having Tactics. Azama's your main? I can definitely try a no-tactic run with him. He is one of the characters that just does not function nearly as well without tactics to help him out. So I'm probably going to need something like Ragna's Blood Cane for the extra damage and healing. Pretty much all I'm going to be relying on early game with Hazama is just pushing them into the wall for the Mind Crystal that deals damage when they hit a wall. That's going to be my best source of damage early on. And luckily his base skill does knock back enemies quite a long ways. So it's not too difficult to get them into the wall. I'm probably going to need to try to get rid of this MP recovery down debuff as well as soon as I can. Hazama already eats through a lot of MP early on as it is, so that debuff is going to make things much more difficult. Fall damage does also exist in this game. I don't know if it's something that a lot of people realize or not, but it is something you can occasionally take advantage of. It's really not something that comes up too often, though, aside from stuff like challenge runs or 100 entropy. Fall damage and trap damage used to be extremely important in a very old version of the game. 100 entropy was way different. You didn't get any starting tactics from your legacy characters. You didn't get any. You didn't get any legacy passives as well. So the beginning of runs in old 100 entropy were very difficult. And then also on top of that, the timer restriction used to be way worse. You used to only get 4 minutes per area instead of 6. Old 100 entropy was very brutal. You also got you got reduced selections on your tactics as well, not only just your potentials. I think I'm definitely going to run into timer issues with this run, especially here early on. I really want to take chains because I like using them, but I don't think it's a good option yet. I really need something for damage. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what real damage options I even have. This might not be too bad. The problem that Hazama has is that he becomes very powerful in the late stages of the game, when he has a lot of potentials to work with, and he has like all of his MP absorption passives. But it takes quite a while to get to that point. And that's usually where having tactics to kind of cover your early game would help him out a lot. Also, I know I went into that rest room, even though I was at full health, and there's a good reason for that. If I go into a room with combat, like I'm at right now, it ticks down on my timer up in the top left. Whereas if I go into a special stage, like a rest, an event, a sortie show, it will pass the stage counter, but it will also not reduce any time. So it's kind of necessary there, just for the time save. I didn't have any debuffs there to clear, I don't think. Because I cleared them earlier. So the only reason to go into the rest there was just to save on timer. A 100 entropy has to really be something that you enjoy doing. A lot of people say they don't enjoy 100 entropy and the really high entropy stuff, like above 75. And I can totally understand why. A lot of the entropy settings become just a very big annoyance, more so than an actual difficulty increase. Where, by being annoying, they do cause, like, difficulty increases, but it's a different way of increasing difficulty. Like, oh, the run is just very hard now because I don't have potentials that I want for my character. It's a different type of damage, or it's a different type of difficulty increase than other stuff, like enemies just dealing more damage or having more HP. Ooh, that was really unsafe, but it worked out. Okay, there's phase 1. There's one move in phase 2 that I'm really worried about without having access to triple dash. Okay, it's fine as long as I get Jin passive on. Well, until I get hit by the move anyways, immediately after saying it's fine. But yeah, the move where the sweeper does the triple dash back and forth, I always have problems with if I don't have something like triple dash or triple jump myself. I actually have no idea if any of the ending stuff is locked behind 100 entropy. I'm pretty sure one of the things is locked behind beating the full Mind Trials. Or Mind Challenge, I mean, not Mind Trial. Mind Trial is the boss rush, and Mind Challenge... these names are all way too similar. There's Mind Training, Mind Challenge, and Mind Trials. The one that I know you have to beat for the true ending is the one where you select bosses individually. And then you do also need to beat 100 entropy once to unlock another... There's a difficulty setting after 100 entropy called Transcendence Mode, which... It's like another modifier on top of the basic entropy settings. So you can do Transcendence at 0 entropy, or you can do all the way up to Transcendence 100. That can be toggled on and off anytime after you've beaten 100 entropy for the first time. So it is required to unlock something, but it just makes the game more difficult if you do. It's not required to... Or it doesn't, like... It doesn't boost the benefits you get from doing entropy, like making more money or having more shop refreshes, that kind of thing. The only thing that Transcendence does is... make the enemies harder. Transcendence does have its own unique mechanic where you can level up your legacy skills, but it's not really a huge deal in my opinion. None of the legacy skills are really that different enough when you level them up, and the fact that they're kind of underpowered to begin with doesn't help with that. And thank God for stage hazards existing. They make the early sections of this run so much more manageable. Yeah, that's the thing about 100 entropy. Some people are just not going to enjoy the settings, like having limited potentials and other types of selections. It's just, it doesn't, it's, like I said before, it's a very different type of difficulty increase compared to other options. And a lot of people say that it just makes the game more unfun for them, which I'm kind of in that category too. I don't mind doing the 100 entropy stuff occasionally, but it's not something I'd want to do all the time. I need to try and get a heal off of this set of enemies if I can. Yeah, that was some really good healing right there. Ragna's second legacy skill is just completely broken. It's more so really strong if you have like a high multi-hitting character. On single target hits, it's a lot harder to out-heal. But on multi-hit characters, the healing on it just goes insane. One thing I would recommend for 100 entropy is getting some good legacy characters set up with really strong legacy tactics. That'll make the early runs of 100 entropy feel a lot less difficult. And then just mind tactic selection, not mind tactic, mind crystal selection helps out a lot as well with that. In 100 entropy, I basically always take mixture enhancement plus mixture replenishment, the two things that make your mixture stronger and give you more mixtures. Otherwise, chip damage becomes a really big issue in 100 entropy because you lose all the healing you get from boss fights. And then another thing I pretty much always started taking into 100 entropy was the +6 potential refreshes. That's one that makes it a lot harder to get stuck in a very bad build. But otherwise, you are just at the mercy of 100 entropy a lot of times. There's a lot you can do to, like, know your character well, and then set up everything properly with mind crystals and stuff, but sometimes with the 100, you just really do get unlucky runs. That hit me? The range on those things always kind of catches me off guard. By delay, do you mean the time it takes for, like, me to see... or, like, for me to respond to messages, and for messages to, like, show up on the stream? If so, there's there's not really a whole lot I can do about it. Yeah, it's a delay on YouTube's end. It's a whole 15 seconds? Wow. There is a lower latency mode on YouTube, but I don't know how much it'll affect the quality. And also, I can't change it in the middle of the stream. I would have to take the stream down for a minute. Which I don't think it's probably a big deal if I do, but I don't know if it'll mess with anything. But yeah, it's something that's on YouTube's end. It's not something I can do a whole lot about, rather than, or aside from changing a setting on YouTube's side. That really didn't give me much healing back. I thought it would since it had multi-hit, but I guess the enemies probably also just died too quickly. People said that there was delay before, but I didn't know it was that long. Also, I can see your messages way before they show up on stream. I have the chat open on my phone, so I see them as soon as they get sent. Most of the delay in me responding to messages is from... I guess the stream delay might also affect that. I didn't think about that. But most of the delay just comes from me playing. Maybe after this run, I'll stop the stream for just a second and try to switch over the latency thing, just to test it out. Because I was going to take a small break anyways after this one, just to go use the bathroom. This run, I honestly don't know if we're going to make it past this boss fight or not, but we'll give it our best shot. Let me check something real quick. Okay, I do have invincibility on this. I couldn't remember if it was an unlock or if it was by default. I'd feel much more comfortable with this if I had chains unlocked, but we kind of had to pass up on that to get damage options going. I didn't get the stun there either. It should be going into stun state pretty soon, though. He's going into another phase. Okay, good. We got him into stun, so it should be okay now. Wait. He just... Why did... Huh? He broke out of the stun. I don't know why he broke out of the stun, but he did. He did it in, like, mid-air, too, didn't he? Did he... That was weird. I swear he, like... I kicked him up into the air, and then he started one of his moves in midair, which I don't think is supposed to happen. Especially not, like, the stun state for him being low should not be that short in the first place, for one. And for two, I don't think he's supposed to attack in midair. Hello, Lily. Welcome to the stream. So Terminal. Thing is, I would really love to try out Noita, but things that have, like, a lot of camera scrolling and camera movement give me motion sickness. So there's really not a whole lot of games I can play anymore. It's a really frustrating thing to have to deal with. So Noita is a game that's unfortunately just kind of off the table for me to be able to play. So this option is pure garbage, and I would recommend never taking it. It's one of the things that is very poorly explained to. Battle space rewards are changed to obtain 150 exchange points, and advanced battle space rewards are doubled. So what this actually does is it completely replaces any space's reward with exchange points. So instead of getting a potential, you only get exchange points. And then when it comes to advanced battle spaces, it just doubles that 150 exchange points to 300. I originally thought that it meant the advanced battle spaces themselves were doubled, so if you were to get 2 potentials from it, you would get 4 instead. But all it does is double the exchange points you get, and then also the exchange points just completely take over any other rewards you'd get from, like, potentials, tactics, everything. So this thing is just pure garbage. You really have a hard time spending all of the exchange points as well, even with 3 shop rerolls. This is not one I've messed around with, so we'll try that one out. You guys learned it the hard way, the same as me, it sounds like. I thought it was going to double the exchange point, or double the advanced spaces in the way that I said, where you could get up to like 4 tactics or 4 MP upgrades at once. And if it worked that way, then it would probably be worth the trade-off of losing regular room rewards. But unfortunately, it does not work that way. But yeah, back to Noita, I think it would be a game that I really did enjoy if I was able to play it. I've been talking to a specialist about it, but it's something that's making, like, very slow progress right now. I didn't get motion sickness when I was younger. It's something that, like, just started to develop out of nowhere over the past couple years, and it's been getting worse, too. Getting to the point where even just, like, driving 15 minutes away to go get groceries is something that triggers my motion sickness. So it started to become a big issue. Oh, I don't have the charge for that yet. I keep thinking I do. There's so many potentials for Hazama that I feel like could just be passive things and probably should. Because he has a ton of bloat in his potentials. Where a lot of things just feel not very good to pick up as a single upgrade. Like, the invincibility could definitely just come with his chains instead of being a separate upgrade. And then, like, the ability to charge his down SP move is something that could definitely just be a base skill. Oh my god, the enemies are healing back so much of the damage that I'm dealing. I wonder if Hazama will ever get damage buffs. I feel like Hazama really needs them. Well, the camera in Noita would be fixed, but I'm trying to think of how to explain it. The camera still moves around. It has to scroll the screen based on like where you're walking towards. And that screen scrolling sideways constantly is one of the things that causes motion sickness for me. Which is really unfortunate because that's like basically every game, other than games that are on really fixed room layouts, and then stuff like RPGs. Blazblue does have some of that screen scrolling, like when I walked across the screen right there. But Blazblue has enough stopping points of where I'm okay with it. And for some reason, the like screen scrolling seems a lot more subtle on some games compared to others. It feels very subtle on this game for me, so that helps out as well. There are definitely some characters, like if I'm doing really crazy things with Mai's dashes or Taukaka's infinite dashes, I have gotten motion sickness a couple times. I also had a hard time with... if you guys know the old Omega Sector, it was like a Castlevania-type map layout, where you had to go around the stage. I had problems with that, because the screen was always scrolling a lot more. Yeah, so it's really difficult to find games that I can play anymore. Even a lot of RPGs, you have to move from, like, area to area. If the movement's interrupted by enough battles and stuff, then I'm usually okay, but it just depends. I am completely out of timer, and I'm not even at the boss fight yet. I won't have invincibility for Ouroboros yet, but I need to take it even just for the hidden effect to get more MP regen, or MP absorption. And then maybe I can get the invincibility here. It's probably better to take the MP absorption instead. Maxing out all these will make a huge difference. It just really wants to give me the hold version, not the invincibility. I should take this, but I have 10 rerolls, so I'm gonna do it anyways. Why does it just keep giving me the same one? That's not the same one, actually, but it's still not the one I want. There we go. The problem is I don't have any way to heal. I would much rather be able to heal before I go into the boss fight. My mixtures don't heal me anymore. They just give me a buff because of the Covenant thing. That's a good point about it being more, maybe more foreground movement. I've always been curious as to, like, why some forms of movement feel a lot more noticeable than others. Oh, this is really bad. The drain is taking effect before I can even start hitting the boss or anything. I lost so much of my HP before the boss even became active. I need to get these summons dealt with. The purple ones aren't quite as bad, but the orange ones I really need to... I tried to dash there for the iframe, or for the dodge frames, but I just didn't press it quite soon enough. Oh well. It's definitely doable, it's just really rough on Hazama because his base damages are so low compared to other characters. I'd have to find a way to... One of the big problems is that it's very difficult to lower timer settings at all, because that's worth an entire 4 points, even just to save a minute. And if I drop below 75, then I lose a shop refresh, and I get a lot less potentials that way. The other thing that's really annoying about boss transitions like that is that you will lose your combo count as well, when you can't hit enemies. And if you have the Mind Crystal for that, you just lose a bunch of damage. I'm trying to decide. I think if I hit the end stream button, I don't think I can start it back up right away, which is the problem with trying to switch the latency settings. Oh, I guess we'll figure out what happens what happens when I press it. So even if it says that the stream is done, the stream will be back in just a couple minutes. I just want to try changing one of the settings that it won't let me change during the stream. So I will be back soon.